Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on World Awakening. It is a world. Okay, yes, because we just did Soul School, so it would be a World Awakening. I'm sorry the meds are kicking in. I'm a little foggy, a little Benadryl, a little Mucinex, some Motrin. I'm like OTC'd out tonight. But still, I wouldn't miss this for the world because I have been trying to get my friend Cindy Kaza on the show for several months now. And you all know, if you know anything about her, how very busy she is. So tonight, without further ado, please welcome Cindy Kaza to A World Awakening.
Andrea!
My darling.
I'm sorry you're not feeling well.
It's okay. I'll be fine. It's just a cold. It's all like up here pretty much. So I'll be okay. And it was bound to happen considering the week I just had. But the week that I spent with you on the Alaskan cruise was so delightful. And we had a meal together just about every day. We were together for dinner and spent a lot of time really getting to know each other in a deeper, even more significant way. And I'm just so impressed with you as a person, as somebody with such depth. And it seems to me like you are constantly in spiritual metamorphosis, always growing, always glowing, always learning, and always imparting whatever you learn to anyone out there that is within earshot. You are a brave, you are a formidable force to be reckoned with as a spiritual warrior, and you are my friend. And I'm so proud to call you that.
I don't know how to follow that up. Nobody's ever been. I mean, that's so nice. Thank you. It's hard to absorb, but you're right. I am a constant work in progress with all things that have to do with mediumship and spirituality. And we talked about this a lot. That we might think something today, but 10 years from now, we might have a totally different understanding of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're very much like me in that way. And you're very open. You're so full of wisdom and knowledge and experience. So I really enjoy learning from you and talking to you because you have a lot to teach me, I feel like, and I really believe that these things that we pick up along the way are meant to be shared. I mean, that's the whole point, right?
Right. Yeah, not something you'd keep a secret,
Well, and also, I think there's a misunderstanding. A lot of people think only certain people can feel the presence of the spirit world, and it's an elite few or a special few. And I totally disagree with that.
I totally disagree with that.
Yeah, we come into this world, into this lifetime with the ability to sense spirit, to sense other people's energy, to feel all of the energies, right? It's all within us. We're all connected. But a lot of people, don't know that, or they're told that it's not true, or they're told only somebody else can do it. So I think part of my purpose being a psychic medium and having a platform to be a psychic medium on is to share that with people. I don't know if I said this to you when we were having dinner, but it's something that I share all the time now. A good friend of mine, her name's Jennifer Schaefer. She's a psychic medium as well. And she said to me once, she said, Cindy, our jobs as psychic mediums are finished when nobody has to come see us anymore because everybody's having their own experiences. And I thought, yeah, that's a good goal, right?
Yeah, it is. And, the thing is that with what you do, there are people out there that are really in pain, that are really hurting, that really feel as if being able to use you as a conduit to connect with a loved one is all that matters in their world. And when that happens for them, it is life altering. And I consider what you do a great gift to humanity. It is, but you also are the first one to tell them that connection, that love connection that they have is never lost, it's never gone, and it's so pure and perfect that they can have that that you basically tell them that they don't need you. If they feel like they do and they are able to get a message through, that is life altering. It is. I've seen it happen to so many people and yet they don't understand, kind of like Dorothy in The Wizard
Mm-hmm.
of Oz, when Glinda the Good Witch tells her, you had the power all along to go home. You did.
Mm-hmm.
You just didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we sometimes, as human beings, we reach out to others as though they're the ones that are the authority. They're the ones that know better or know more or have a different power, as it were, than we do. But really, I think that the core of that power source is love. And
Mm-hmm.
that is something that all of us share together. And when we embrace all of humanity, and we all come together in a realization of oneness, that we are one human race, that everyone is our brother or our sister.
Mm-hmm.
When we get to that point, then we have spiritually ascended to a place that allows us to be in touch with not only our feelings about this world, but it's almost like that door that opens into the universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's oh my gosh, my puppy, she's like barking so much. Frankie, it's okay. Sorry.
Frankie, it's okay. If Frankie needs to sit on your lap, it's no
She
problem.
might need to sit on my
I
lap,
I
but
have
I'm gonna.
Princess
Can I go
Peanut
get
Butter
her?
Cups right
Okay,
here.
hold on. Sorry, everyone.
Go
Hold on
get
one
her.
second.
Yeah.
Okay. She's just like her little bark is making it impossible to focus. So I will bring her to the show. She needs to have her own show, the Frankie show. Here she
Yeah.
comes. Oh wait, here she comes. There she is. Okay. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Okay, there we
It's
go.
no problem. I have the
Oh,
Princess
look.
Peanut Butter Cup right here. This is my baby. You're my sweet baby.
They're the best. So what I was gonna say is when my brother passed away last year. So I've
Oh,
been,
I'm
we
so
talked
sorry.
about that, and thank you. I mean, it's part of life, right? And
Yeah,
it's
it's
been such a
also the most difficult part of life.
it's really challenging. It is really
Yes.
challenging, even as a psychic medium. And I think people, sometimes they don't understand that even though I have this ability to connect to the spirit world, I still grieve and feel the same intensity around losing a loved one as everybody else. And it's been a really interesting journey losing my brother because we were very, very close. And I haven't really felt him around me. And it's been very puzzling because I can go to a live event and bringing through somebody's mother, their brother, their whatever, right? It comes through, and I'm like, where is my brother? So I've been sitting for the last year, kind of puzzled and by this experience, like what is going on here? And I had this moment in a meditation where I literally was told, your brother went into your heart. He's actually closer to you now than he was when he was alive. He actually went into your heart. And I was thinking, wow, that's a really beautiful visualization, right?
It
But
is.
with things like that, it's like a daily practice, right? So then I get busy and I forget I get this message, and then I saw one of my teachers. Her name is Sharon Klingler. She was I studied mediumship with her years ago. I just saw her a few weeks ago, and I was telling her, I said, Sharon, why can't I feel my brother? I'm so confused by this. Where is he? And she said, Cindy, she said, what I think is that when you're really close to somebody, you're like the same person. Your energies are so similar that when he is around you, you don't feel it because it's too familiar to you. So when we're feeling the presence, a presence from a spirit that we don't know, the energy of that spirit pushes against our aura in a way that's unusual. We're like, well, who is that? But when it's somebody that we're very close to, sometimes it's harder to sense. And I was like, well, that is a really interesting way to look at that too. It's like the because I know him so well and we're so close, maybe I don't feel him when he's there. But it's been such a great learning experience, also because when I do my live events and I do a Q&A at the end of every event that I do, people would always ask me, like, why can't I feel my husband? Where is he? And my answer was always, now I see it, was all very generic. I would say, don't worry, he's around. You might be missing the signs, because I didn't have the experience. And so I don't know. I just feel like I need to share this, like, for anybody out there that's like wondering, like, where is my mother? Where is this person? Where are they? That even as a psychic medium and somebody who connects the spirit all the time, I understand what you're saying. And so I think it's going to become a bigger part of my journey, like to really dive into um, that aspect of grief and losing a loved one, and like all of the different possibilities and experiences that people have. What's your experience with that? Like, what do you think?
The night my sister died, I didn't feel my sister die.
Mm-hmm.
And I packed, got ready, had to leave at like 5 o'clock in the morning to go to the airport, had to fly cross country. When I got where I was, where I discovered she had passed away, was standing in, it's interesting, I was just talking about this exact same thing with Jeff, my partner on Soul School.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a natural flow into this. And I was baffled that somebody that I loved that much could cease to be, and that I didn't feel it when it happened. Um, Still to this day, I'm baffled by that, because you often hear so many, people say, "Oh, and my brother or my father or a loved one, there was an accident and it just knocked me back, and they passed out of this life, and it leveled me, and it happened 1,000 miles away." Mine was the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
There was no sense at all that there had been a disturbance in the force, that something incredibly tragic had happened to a member of my own family. And I think that's why when I did find out, that it floored me in the middle of an airport. We just had this conference. This is like picking up where we left off in Soul School. My God.
It
But
wasn't finished. You have more to share.
I guess. And yet, I have been very fortunate that April has been around us a great deal. April seems completely cognizant of the fact that her death, as abruptly as it occurred, just fractured our whole family emotionally, just blew us apart. And
Mm-hmm.
so she has made every effort, and it tells me how strong she is on the
Mm-hmm.
other side. That she has made every effort to physically manifest in front of us. I can think right off the top of my head of 5 or 6 times that we have seen her,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be here in this house or I saw her in Sault Ste. Marie. She went up with our family in 2019 when our whole family went to the Upper Peninsula Michigan Paracon. Um, and my father and I saw her walking through double doors as our elevator door was closing, and we just looked at each other like, there she's right there,
Mm-hmm.
following us. She's an incredibly strong spirit on the other side. And in fact, I was just up at the farmhouse a few nights ago. It was Monday night, and Cody and Satori were there, and I had told you about them, how they
Oh,
in
yes.
touch,
Yep.
and well, um, she stopped them dead in their tracks and came bashing through. And the message was very succinct and to the point. Play the rose for mom. And that was April's favorite song of
Mm-hmm.
all time. And she had met, several that she was very fond of, but that was April's song. And Bette Midler. And
Oh, I know it. I
yeah,
know that song well.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's a good one.
beautiful. And I was thinking, why does April want me to do that? Does she want me to do that to spark mom's memory of that, or for mom to feel her presence, or just used that as a way to communicate so that I would know absolutely that it was her, or it could be a intermingling of all of them. I don't know. I mean, you might find more clarity with the way that, but I think we all have abilities. We all have psychic abilities. We always have something happen in our lives through the course of our lives that confirms that, that we have a premonition, or that we have a
Mm-hmm.
very intense deja vu experience, or we have something that kind of jerks us out of 3D for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I still don't know
Yeah.
what it is, Cindy. I don't know what it is. I don't know. The first time I looked at you in person, I met you first in Savannah, and
Mm-hmm.
my table was right across from yours, and I couldn't take my eyes off of you. Erin, there she is. Mwah. Oh, I know. Oh, I know. When April came through, I mean, it's mind blowing. I mean, it's boom. There she is. She's right there. She's either ratting herself out about something that she did, and there was still some question as to who did it. Well, not really. We knew it was her, but still. I mean, she's always coming through Cody and Satori at the farmhouse, which is great because she loved the farm. And so for me to know that she's there with the spirits that we came to know over the time that we lived there is somehow oddly comforting to me, that,
Mm-hmm.
she's with them,
Mm-hmm.
um, and can just, come through there in such, with such ease and grace.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not always grace. She's Aries. She's bull in a china shop kind of grace, but Aries with 5 planets in Aries. Okay, I'm Libra with 5 planets in Libra. To say that we had like a constant conflict
Mm-hmm.
going on in life
Mm-hmm.
is the understatement of the new millennia. And yet I would lay down in front of a train for her. I would give my life to have her back for the pain and the loss that it has caused in our family. But she visits all of us. And in fact, Cindy, and I think I might have told you this on the ship, but a couple of years ago, my great niece, Lucy, was swept away in a flood in Waverly, Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
only 8 years old. And my other great niece was with her other grandmother, not my sister Nancy, but her other grandmother. And she came out, and she was only about 6 at the time, but she's clairvoyant. She's got like every gift you can put on. I mean, she's just an amazing child. And she came out of her room and she said, "Grandma Becky, Auntie April just visited me and she had Lucy with her. Why did she have Lucy with her?"
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Nancy's back at her house, has just heard what's happened, and is screaming to the universe, "April, go save Lucy. Go
Oh,
get Lucy."
wow.
And Lucy
Wow.
was already with her.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
then Amelia said, and there was another man. There was a man there too. He was very tall and he had red hair. And I don't know him. And when Becky told Nancy that was Nancy's fiance, Eddie Richardson. His family
Mm-hmm.
built the farmhouse that we
Mm-hmm.
grew up in. And he died when he was 22
Oh,
by
wow.
a
That's young. Yeah.
self-inflicted gunshot when Nancy
Mm-hmm.
left him.
Mm-hmm.
And it has broken all of us, our hearts, all these
Mm-hmm.
years to not know about Eddie and how Eddie is doing. We all loved him so much.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing. Amelia came out, identified Lucy, April, and Eddie, who she had never met.
Mm-hmm. And with children, it's really so parents will say a lot. They'll ask me like, well, I think my child is seeing spirits. My child said I saw grandma, but grandma died before, for example, my son was born. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a really beautiful thing when these experiences come through the eyes of children, because children are so innocent. They're not making anything up. They don't have an agenda. They're sharing with you an experience. And if that isn't proof of spirit communication, I don't know what to tell
What
you,
is?
right?
Yeah.
What is, because a child is and it happens all the time. I mean, and kids are very open. And I don't really know why it is that children seem to be way more open than adults, but my thought on that is children seem to be very present. They have very open imaginations. You really do have to be able to go there to be a medium. You have to be able to step outside of yourself long enough to feel the information and to bring it back in and to give the message, right? And children aren't wrapped up in the past, they're not wrapped up really in the future. They're present, they're open, they're innocent, they're all these things happening, right? And so I always tell parents, because they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do with my kid who sees spirits? I don't know what to do. I'm like, show up for your child and talk to them about it and tell them it's okay and have open communication, because what you're experiencing is a beautiful gift. I mean, I say that unless there's a situation where something else is going on that needs help, but I've always enjoyed hearing the stories from parents. I think it's magical and magnificent. Yeah.
Well, and we hear stories from parents who are awake and aware. We hear
Mhm.
stories about these children whose parents are asking the right questions. I feel badly, and I've talked about this on the show before. I mean, how many times in the course of history has a child come to a parent and said, Grandma read me a bedtime story last night. And the parent says, oh, no, that's not possible because your grandmother died before you were born and you were just
Mhm.
having a dream and you probably just seen a picture of her and it's in your head and it's your imagination. And they just squash it immediately. And they are the authority figures in that child's life. And they just squash that. Where the only appropriate questions from me, as far as I'm concerned, would be, she did? What story did she read you? How did she look? Did she mention me? How long did she stay? These are the questions affirming that this incredibly beautiful spiritual contact has occurred, and
Mhm.
that the child that you have raised to be honest is being honest with you and telling
Mhm.
you that this remarkable thing has happened,
Mhm.
at that this youngster is mesmerized by and not fearful of, but embracing. And it's a beautiful thing. And I think too many times the reasons why we shut down as adults is we were told too often that didn't
Mhm.
happen. That's not real. You didn't experience that. That was a dream. And then they just shut that down. They close that door. Slowly but surely, they close that door on their own children's gifts.
Yeah, it happens all the time. And you know what else I found is language is very important. How we deliver our experience with using language is important. So, for example, if I say to one person, I'm a psychic medium, that closes the door. If I say to the same person, oh, I'm very intuitive, oh, the door stays open. If I say to that same person, oh, an angel told me this, maybe it's open. But if I say, oh, your dead grandmother told me this, then it slams shut. So it's how people are socialized in their culture, the way that they've been taught to experience these energies. It has a direct influence on how we experience the spirit world. And I was just talking about this the other day, like if I'm doing a paranormal investigation, as you know, we both do those a lot. The way that I encounter somebody on the other side that may be a little bit angry, they have got some unfinished business. I might sit with that energy and say, okay, I feel a man here. I know he's angry. He has unfinished business. I feel like I'm talking to this fragmented piece of him, because I think spirits can be all over the place all at the same time, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but somebody else might feel that energy and immediately think it's demonic or something
Hostile, at
else.
least. Yeah.
So I've also learned that the more that and I can only speak for myself, right? The more that I sit and do my own work and really work through my own triggers and traumas, um, the better I am as a medium, because I can show up from a more neutral perspective, right? Like I use the example of this, like if somebody has a father in this lifetime that's an alcoholic, right? And they're a medium and they haven't worked through that trauma. If they encounter an alcoholic father on the other side, the tendency for them to shut the door or push him out is a lot higher because it's so triggering. So it all kind of goes together. Like we as psychics and mediums have a responsibility to show up and do our own work so we can show up for the spirit world, because those spirits need help too, right?
Yes.
Um, yeah.
Yes, they do. Those spirits need help too. And
Mhm.
I'm so grateful that they exist. I'm so grateful that we don't just evaporate into energy and dissipate into the ether when we die,
Mhm.
that some semblance of who we are in life remains in afterlife. And
Mhm.
sometimes that might be a cranky old man or a mischievous young child or, a sedate and somber school marm of a mother, or we stay who we are essentially when
Mhm.
we cross. That's why we were able to discern and delineate the energies at the farm, all the different spirits that would come through. And now through Cody and Satori, and Erin had that experience while she was up there with me, and you can't avoid it there.
Mhm.
It's like
Mhm.
a clearinghouse. It's like a vortex of activity. And I used to think, here's a case in point, what you said about how we evolve, how we change based on our experiences. I used to think that the only spirits that were in the house or that could communicate with us were, oh, thank you for putting that up,
Oh,
Bill.
thank you.
That's very nice, honey. Um, were the ones that had lived there, had previously that had been their home. And we have since discovered that it's a place where a stranger who's just fascinated by the house can walk into it, and
Oh,
Cody and Satori can link arms, and suddenly
yeah.
someone who loves and misses an individual that's in a crowd of people right there, right there. And the message comes right through.
Mhm.
And it is, I've seen it over and over and over again. It is
Mhm.
life altering.
Mhm.
In fact, I was there this past Monday with an Italian man, and Cody and Satori were kind enough to share their gift with the two gentlemen that I was with, one being Italian. And the spirit came through and spelled out Adolfo and Maria. And he said, oh my God, that's my parents' names. My parents are
Mhm.
alive and well in California."
Ah, interesting.
And it was his uncle that had
Mhm.
committed suicide a
Mhm.
decade before.
Mhm.
And his sister Maria had been praying for his soul, a devout Roman Catholic. Thought he was,
Mhm.
hellfire
In
and
a bad
brimstone. It
place.
was like the
Yes,
worst
yeah.
thing you
Yeah.
could possibly do is to take your own life,
Yeah.
and that there would be eternal damnation involved.
Mhm.
And he came through and said, "I'm fine. I'm watching over the family."
Yep.
Well,
I experienced that a lot.
for him to be able to call his parents and tell
Mhm.
them that his uncle just came through and gave him this message at that farmhouse, it altered everything in their whole family.
Mhm.
Can you imagine the relief of his sister feeling that there's a chance she'll see him again? They were very close.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, the ripple effect. It's like throwing the pebble in the pond, and the waves just radiate out in every direction.
And
And when
can oh, sorry, I just
no,
wanted to
no,
share something
please go right ahead.
because you're on this topic and it is so interesting. The spirit world is so intelligent. They know exactly what they're doing
Yeah.
and when to give a message and who to give a message to. So I do a lot of live events where I bring through people's loved ones who have passed away, and I travel all over the US, right? So I've had this happen more than once where I'll be doing an event in a city, one city, right? And I'm getting a name, and the name is for somebody in the audience, right? And I'm
Hmm.
bringing through a spirit. I'm just going to give an example. Okay, this isn't a true reading, but it's an example of what happens. I'll be like, "Oh, I have a dad who died of cancer, blah blah blah." I'm hearing the name Tony, right? And I'm here, and then there's a guy named Tony in the audience who raises his hand, right? And he'll be like, "That's not my dad, that's my friend's dad. My friend lives, in a different state," right? And he starts, then the dad gets the message out, right? And then the friend, in the audience calls his friend to give the message. And then the next time I'm in the other city, the guy that got the message comes to the event, And this stuff happens all the time where like, and then somebody else gets a message, they share it with somebody else, and it's like they just know what they're doing. They know
Me too.
exactly what evidence to give so it can get to the right person, because otherwise we're like, it's like with your sister with the rose, right? With the message, sing the rose, like the spirit world, they know exactly what to say so you really know that it's them. They know where to give the evidence, who to give it to, how to deliver it. And just to share one more story about the intelligence of the spirit world, and this is like, I've had to really learn to get out of my own way when I'm working, and to remove my ego as much as possible. So um, I was doing an event in Florida. This was years ago, right? And usually, when I'm doing an event and bringing through somebody from the other side, I can sense how they passed away. That's usually easy for me. Okay,
Hmm.
so this man came through. I like knew, I got his name, I knew the relationship, but I couldn't see how he died, right? And I was getting so mad, not at the spirit, I was getting mad at myself, thinking, getting in my ego, like, oh, I must really stink tonight, why can't I see how he died? I'm so annoyed with myself. And this is all ego, right? Like, I'm like, the spirit, the guy is there. So I go to this woman in the audience. And it was her fiance who had died, right? And she was sitting at a table with like a bunch of people that she works with. And I said to her, I said, I'm really sorry, I don't understand why I can't see how he died. Like, I'm still so stuck on this one thing, right? I give her the message. The next day she sends me a Facebook message, and she said this. She said, Cindy, I know why you didn't see it. It's because my fiance died of an opioid overdose. And she said, I work at a doctor's office, and my boss told me not to tell anybody what really happened. And she said, I was sitting with a bunch of my colleagues, and everybody thought he had a heart attack. Right? So, like, the spirit, like, do you see what I mean? It's
I
just like
do.
about like
I do.
me and any medium, like trusting that what we're receiving is what we're meant to receive. Because what happens sometimes is we like go fishing or digging or thinking, I need to get this and this, or else I'm not a good medium. And it's not true. It's like, if you're present and you show up for the spirit world, they're going to give you what you need.
Yes. And they know best. They do.
They know best.
Yep.
It's
It's just
true.
like, with my galactic family, the ball is always in their court.
Mm-hmm.
Always. They call the shots. And I'm totally okay with that. I just receive whatever comes. Uh,
Right. But
but
right, it's hard to remember that sometimes when
I
you're like,
know.
it's hard to remember that
Well,
sometimes.
and because you get caught up. And I remember sitting at my table, and I had Erin and my father, and Greta was there. And I had a lot of stuff going on that weekend in Savannah. But I remember sitting at my table, and every opportunity I had, I would glance up and look at you. And usually there were people standing in front of you, but every now and then I would get a glimpse. And the thing that I was fascinated by and fixated on was that aura around you, that glow around you that was so clear, so pure, such white energy, um, that I was transfixed by it. And then I saw it again on the ship. Then when you came out with me, all of that was I can I don't know how to say it. I can feel your connection. I guess that's
Thank
the way for
you.
me to put it best. I can feel your connection. Not only do I feel the connection between us, but I can feel your connection to other realms, to you're you're connected in a way where you seem to protect yourself so that you're not overwhelmed, like you've established boundaries. But to me, you appear more ethereal than human. I guess that's the best way for me to put it.
I mean, look, it's funny, right? Because I try to like set these boundaries, and there are always these moments where I'm like, what would it be like if I just got rid of all of those boundaries and I let myself just be? um and it terrifies me because there's this piece of like, oh my gosh, will I be able to come back the same way? Like, I know that there's still in my mediumship this aspect where I'm trying to control things, right? Which is totally like not presence.
Hmm.
But I don't know. Thank you for seeing that in me. It's I don't know if I take compliments well. It takes me a while to absorb it, but I appreciate that. It's like
Well,
still, yeah.
it's not even so much a compliment as my reality of you. I
Mhm.
mean, yes, I consider when somebody calls me weird, I take it as a
Oh, it's a
compliment.
compliment, please. I am. I'm like,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. But it's my visualization of you, my sensory receptors, my heart connection with you, all of that. But physically, you glow. There's a glow around you, and I know it because people tell me about that all the time. Although I don't
Mhm.
think I'm all glowy, I'm more moist and pasty tonight. But
No, let's just be clear, Andrea. You are an alien. Let's just get it out there.
okay,
Let's just be clear, right? I
okay,
mean, you're not from here.
I'm not. It took me more than 60 years to be able to acknowledge that and accept it about myself. There was still that part of me that wanted to fit in, and I don't. And that's okay. I finally have accepted that. You seemed to have matured uh, into your own self awareness earlier than I did. But then, with what's going on with you, I don't have, I have a little bit of everything, like in terms of gifts and intuition and so on and so forth. I've had many psychic experiences. I've had many prophetic dreams. I've had moments of mediumship with people. It happens spontaneously. I tell them that I see someone with them. I describe that person and I give them the message and then I just move on.
Mhm.
It's not, there's nothing formalized about it. It's just part of my normal paranormal communication with people. So
Mhm.
I don't label myself anything because if you're a little bit of everything, just call yourself what you are. You're
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
everywhere all at once. That'd be a
Well,
good title
it's
for a
true.
movie.
It's true. It's so true, and the other thing that I've really been kind of sitting with, I think we've spoken about this, and something I've talked about more lately because of the amount of paranormal investigations that I've been doing, and encountering these spirits in these in homes that seem to have a lot of unfinished business that
Mhm.
can't seem to move on. Energetically, it doesn't make sense to me that the entirety of a soul can just be stuck in one place.
I
And so I'm
know it
thinking,
doesn't.
I'm like, so okay, so what could be going on, right? These are the questions that I ask myself, right? Like, how is this working energetically? Because if you read about near death experiences and if you believe we're all one and everything's connected, then time and space aren't linear on the other side. They're not linear, right?
Mhm.
So there's got to be something else going on. So I started to really kind of dive into that and started to feel like, I think I'm encountering this fragmented aspect of a soul that's traumatized. Like when we have a trauma here, we can fragment off, we get stuck in the memory of the trauma. It pulls us away from our presence. Like this happens to us here, right? And so I'm starting to really feel into like, okay, like that's the part of that soul that I'm encountering, this fragmented, this traumatized piece, this piece of the soul that doesn't feel forgiven or was harmed or doesn't feel love or was never seen or didn't feel like it belonged. And that piece needs love and attention and wants to be reintegrated. And those pieces have a lot of power. Think about how much power when we go back into a trauma, into a memory, think about how much power that has and how much we can
Yes.
live through that lens. And
Oh
so
yeah.
really trying to understand, like, because you know when we're living through the lens of trauma, it can run our whole lives. We respond that way, we react that way, right? I think the same thing is happening with the spirit, and it's just this piece. And I've started to really dive into like, okay, yeah, part of my job as a medium, right? It's to help people that are here. and help spirits, and how, when giving a message, can we combine all of those things, like the healing on all of the levels, through the lineage. Because the other thing that we forget sometimes, and I've done it myself in doing a reading with a spirit, is the trauma didn't start with the one spirit, it went before that. So how do you heal the
Frequently.
lineage?
Yeah.
Right. And when we talk about like forgiveness, like I really feel like forgiveness is a huge piece in everything, forgiving ourselves, forgiving other
Mhm.
people. And it's really hard when something traumatic and terrible has happened to somebody, to say, well, you need to forgive it, right? Because it sounds like we're gaslighting somebody, or it sounds like we're telling them to get over it, and that's, that doesn't
That's
feel
not
right.
it.
And that's not it. So I'm like, maybe it's something more like, we need to forgive the lineage. Like, we need to go as far back and forgive the lineage, because where did it come from? I don't know. I'm getting off on a little bit of like a heady tangent here, but it's like, when we're doing this work, like, it's not just about, look at me, I see dead people, I can name this and do this. I mean, that's because it becomes a show, right? It says, look
Right.
at
And
me.
that's not what it is.
Like, what are we doing here, and what is the intention, and what's the purpose? And I've been through all these different phases, and I know what it feels like to be on a stage. You're like, I better get something right, because I've got all these people watching me, and in that space you're just in fear, afraid of getting something wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like moving beyond that space, and really sitting with and trying to feel into, what am I doing here as a psychic medium, and what's the point. So it's just things for people to think about in the space when they're doing this work, and to remember. It's easy when there's a lot of pressure on you, and I speak for myself. When you're on television, you've got people watching you and projecting onto you, and wow, it's easy to get overtaken into a lot of different spaces, and the importance of sitting and just really remembering, like a constant remembering of what it is that we're doing here. It's
Right.
really, really important.
Yeah, it really is. And I don't struggle with that because my ego got crushed in a parking lot at a theater when I was in my 20s. It got run over, and they the director always said leave it outside the door. Well, one night at a rehearsal, it really just got
Wait,
run
what
over,
happened?
and
Dude, tell me the story. Tell me the story. Come on, I gotta
I
hear this.
it's just I did so well with my role that night that my director got in my face backstage and called me a show off. And I was so hurt. I was doing best foot forward, mastered a role, did everything he asked of me, exactly the way he asked of me. Didn't go off on, there was nothing about my performance that night that was any different than any other performance I had done of that play. But when I came out on stage, the audience came to their feet
Mm-hmm.
before he came out on stage. And he took great exception to that.
Mm-hmm.
Because he fathomed himself the star of the show, and
Mm-hmm.
I had usurped him, I guess. And he did everything in his power to crush me that night. And I decided long ago in my 20s, I think it was like maybe 26, 27 years old, um, that I didn't need that ego anymore if it could make me that vulnerable. And
But
that
it
was,
wasn't your ego, it was his ego too,
well, it
right?
was, but it had an impact on me. I mean, I withdrew um, emotionally and in every other way. I withdrew from the company that I loved. It took me a
Mm-hmm.
long time to be able to go back in there and feel good about myself because he had, so successfully beaten me down that
Mm-hmm.
night and made me feel ashamed for doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, one of those ugly episodes in life that every now and then it'll come back and bite you in the ass when you're doing the dishes or something, and you revisit all of those feelings. And it was very painful for me. So I put my ego aside a long time ago. Um, and but my question for you, and I know it can get in the way, and we can't allow that. Um, but my question for you is, when you are actively doing a gallery or a reading, do you, when you go into that place, when you are literally with spirit and communicating for them, do you feel empowered or do you feel vulnerable?
Oh, all of it. I mean, all of it. It's extraordinarily vulnerable, but it also, I don't know, the power of the spirit world is amazing. Like you feel energized, you feel full of your energy, right? And there's the moments though where I can sense when I'm snapping and going into ego and trying to pull myself back in. Look, the ego gets a bad rap. Look, we all have an ego. It gets us through, right? But vulnerable, absolutely. I would like to be more vulnerable because that is the space, really. If you just surrender and you're like, you know what? I fully trust that I'm going to be up here and it's going to be okay. Come on, let's do this. That is the golden space. That's the space. And I'm constantly trying to get there and really just allow myself to surrender on that deep of a level. And I think that for me, sitting with spirit, even like sitting more in meditation, sitting in connection will allow that to happen because there has to be a trust there. You know, you have to be able to have that trust with spirit. But I don't know. I mean, it's a good question because I want to be there more. I want to just be in full surrender, vulnerability. That's what I teach my students. That's what I strive to do. It's not always easy.
No,
Yeah.
it's not,
Yeah.
because there's something about being in that space that feels almost unsafe,
Right.
because we suffer the illusion that we're maintaining some control, and it's
Yeah.
nothing but an illusion.
It's an illusion. It is an illusion. It's I mean, right? Oh,
Yeah.
your mind just it's like you want to like messes with your minds, but it's so true, you know? And you know the other thing too that I really think it's like all the projections and ego and all the things, right? It really boils down to like our innate and often unconscious desire and need as humans to belong,
Right.
because if something is threatened, then suddenly even you, and this isn't like a conscious thing going on in your minds, but I think it's the core of it. Let's say you know, your let's use the example of the director. Oh well, if Andrea did better than me, I no longer belong here, so I need to protect myself and make myself bigger so I can feel like I belong. And
Yeah.
if you really think about that, and you look at how humans behave, it's a really it's a powerful teacher because you can pretty much explain uh everybody's behaviors that way, like, oh, they feel threatened so they don't belong, you know.
Yeah,
And yeah.
exactly. I know. And
Hmm.
some people don't feel tall unless they're standing on top of a broken body. You
Hmm.
know, if they're just, they have to diminish and minimize people around them in order to feel bigger. And that is the sign of someone who is supremely insecure and suffers an ability to love themselves.
And it's the
I
same in the spirit world too, Andrea, right? Because we encounter spirits
Yes.
that are going through the same things that they went through when they were here, the same things that we go through still. And I always teach my students, you have to treat spirits like people here and look at them as they're suffering with the same kind of things. They're in a
Yes.
different space, right?
Yes.
Um, and I don't know, it's like, man, I think eventually, Andrea, I don't know, I'm just like 10 years from now, I don't even know where I'm going to be with all these answers and these questions, but I'm just enjoying exploring all of it on such a deep level. It's yeah, it's what keeps me going.
Well, we blew through this hour. And,
It went by so fast. What just happened, right?
I can't even believe it. And I would very much like to have you on again to continue this
Yes.
conversation.
Let's go. I'll do it anytime. Well, it's great. I'll come on anytime. I always have time for you. We will find time.
You are so wonderful. And No, I want to do some more events with you, and actually, Greta and I are planning, pulling some things together here in Atlanta. So
Amazing. Let's do it.
we will get you here and put on. I know exactly who to hand pick for this event, um, and we will really make it magical. It needs to happen because right now, you know as well as I do, the world is in crisis. People are in crisis. I just went through my news feed accidentally because I avoid it like the plague. When I was trying to log in on Facebook on my phone and my news feed popped up, and I scrolled for a few thumb scrolls, and I'm like, Jesus, Mother of God, everybody is in so much pain.
Yeah, it's
There's so
rough.
many things. Please pray for me, pray for my family, pray for my dog. I'm losing, loss and grief and pain. And I'm like, okay, all right, we need to kick this into high gear.
Mhm.
No, just kick it into high gear and put out as much positive energy and practice the presence of universal love law and speak light language to each other and come together. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to talk about this with Cindy tonight. And I
Mhm.
feel like just this hour that we've had together, I hope it will touch hearts, open minds, reach people's souls, because that's why we do what we do, and very mindfully so, that we go out into the world and we bring the best of ourselves, the best of our gifts into the world, and courageously impart what we know without fear that we will be dismissed, that we will be berated, that we will be scrutinized and criticized. I don't care, and
Mhm.
neither do you. And
Mhm.
that's one of the things that I most admire about you as this strong, really powerful woman in this field. And I do everything that I can to promote women in this field because we
Mhm.
do the yeoman's work. We are the
Mhm.
foot soldiers, and
Mhm.
very often do not get enough attention paid.
Mhm.
So there it is. Welcome to a world awakening, and we have to go run a few commercials. But I thank you so, so much for being with me tonight. I love you dearly. You
I
are,
love you too, Andrea. I can't wait to see you again. Let's do this soon. It was my
we will.
pleasure. Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you.
Thank you. Bye,
And
everybody. Thank
good
you.
night.
Yeah. Thank you. Good
Everybody,
night.
remember, be the light you seek. Good night.
Bye.